is Ron Turner of FrontRunner 2020. Welcome to this episode of FrontRunner 2020, Insider Tips on Volunteer Call Center Management. Before we start the program, let me say a few words about our purpose. This is the 13th program in our series on October 13th. So thank you everyone for being here on this lucky day. And let us go on, and let me remind you why we're here. This series is designed to support and encourage those on the journey towards elected office. We present relevant programming for those aspiring to run so you can lay the groundwork and be prepared. In addition, some of our presentations, like the one here, are focused on strategies and tactics for use during a campaign. You'll see that we emphasize marketing and building your brand as important strategic components. There are many things you can do before you announce your candidacy that will enhance your potential and eliminate obstacles. We recognize this path as a matter of personal growth and, yes, a calling. Please tell us what you need to be more successful, and we'll plan future programs around your feedback. Janice Flowers and I have worked together at People Calling People on many political phone calling projects, ranging from long-term statewide programs to smaller on-demand targeted response calling. This informal conversation and presentation takes you through the steps that we follow in setting up a program for a client, such as calculating the number of volunteers needed, scheduling, training, supervising, rewarding and recognizing achievements, etc. The second half hour will be devoted to your questions. So I am very delighted to have Janice here with us, and she has worked with me for a number of years, and she has also had much experience prior to that, both professionally and as a volunteer, and she's just been an outstanding asset at People Calling People as our call center manager. And I'd like Janice to tell us a little bit more about herself outside of People Calling People. Are you ready to get started, Janice?
Yes, Ron, and thank you for having me tonight. Hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining. I just wanted to say that I am involved in a lot of different activities. Right now I'm in training to be a volunteer instructor for AARP Defensive Driving Program. I volunteer on a monthly basis with a program called Meals of Kindness. We prepare a full course meal on a monthly basis for 300 to 400 people. And I also volunteer for an animal clinic in Gun Barrel City. I make reminder calls to the clients to give them before surgery instructions for their pets. So, and working with People Calling People keeps me active also, so I really enjoy it, and thank you.
Great, Janice. Let me go ahead and give everybody an outline so they know what we're planning in this program. First, we're going to give a background and introduction to our company, and then proceed very quickly into recruiting and screening of volunteers, training and building your team, actively supervising the volunteers during their work, and rewarding and recognizing their accomplishments. First, background in my story. I was the Vice President of Technology at PageNet, and used that as a springboard to start my own company in Argentina and Brazil, DirectTel, offering paging services there, where we operated large call centers to transcribe messages and type them to be sent out to the pagers. When I got back to the U.S., I started people calling people, designed to bring the latest technology and telephony practices into politics. The services that we provide at People Calling People include the full range of telephony to support advocacy and political campaigns, a live call center, all types of automated robocalls and polling, telephone town halls, text messaging, and database. So let's get started. The first thing you have to do is to recruit your team, right? And because this program is focused on aspiring candidates and beginners, let's be sure we include that. The important thing is to look at your entire personal network, everybody you know, and cast a wide net. Put out a call asking for help. If you are further along and have already run a campaign, or if you're involved with a county party or a club, then you may have a record of people who've already worked before. Of course, you'll focus on them to start. And whoever you are, you want to be building a permanent organization, not just always setting up a tent when you need to make calls. Carry this group from campaign to campaign as a group of pros that you can count on. So the first thing you do is, if you are beginning, and even if you're not, cast a net to bring in new recruits. Use Facebook to post events, etc. Now, an important part of our philosophy is to work with a dedicated team. And this is not to just set up desks and computers where people can walk in and out to make phone calls. This means a permanent organization of people who will have pride in their work and to be well trained and disciplined in their scheduling. This is a philosophy, this is a strategy, and we'll break this down to show you how we work going forward. First is the training session. Once you've done your initial call and you've identified all of the people who are interested, then you want to do the training. And part of the training is to develop leadership as well. During the recruiting process, you want to try to find people who may have customer service or call center experience to be developed as leaders, because of course the candidate or the leadership of a club or organization are not the people who should be running this program. You want to be recruiting and developing someone who will be in charge of that. So the training is something where we recommend 4 hours. And here's why: because there's a social connection that happens in building that team. And this is something that you do before you can really make your schedule, because you're going to have high standards, and some people in the exercises will turn out not to be suitable for this kind of work, and you'll want to diplomatically give them another assignment. So the scheduling we'll talk about later, but just keep in mind that some people will wash out of the training, and you want that. You want the pride and the excellence to be cultivated in the people who are selected.
And also, Ron, I'd like to add the role playing gives them the opportunity to get a feel of what it's like making the calls.
Thanks for adding that, because you know what? The role playing is fun too, and when we go around the circle, you remember some of the ones we've done, and a lot of them we do online, and it's always like the person who is acting as the voter receiving the call will come up with some new twist or something to really put the other person to the test, remember?
Exactly, exactly, and that's why role playing is so important, in the training session.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, as a techie, I'm tempted to want to focus on the systems, but I always do that last because I know the most important thing is the role-playing exercises.
Yes.
Yeah, and then so finally commitment, and Janice, you're the one that wanted to put this on here because it is so important on a couple of different levels. Is the members of the team become committed to one another from doing these exercises, being together, sharing a meal together, etc. And then because of the investment in training the organization has made, they feel a commitment as well.
Exactly.
So now, here's an example. This session is not about writing scripts, but here's how we do it. We make them as a block diagram, and it has to fit on one page. And just to emphasize the role playing and what Janice just said is that we go through all scenarios. So the first response, a person may say yes, they may say no, they may say maybe, and we make sure that the training includes all of that.
And I'd like to add too, even though we have the script there to follow, a lot of times when you get you call the person's home, you get unexpected answers. So you have to be encouraged to know that you have to keep a positive attitude, and be polite and hang up politely.
Good point. That's right. Yeah, so that the callers are prepared for what's going to happen to them. And you know what? Just to talk about how not to do it is that if somebody doesn't get that preparation, they will come in and volunteer. And I've seen this at some of these walk-in situations. They don't know that it's normal to dial so many times and not get an answer. They don't know that it's normal to have people hang up on you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what you have to teach. Okay, so next is making the calls. All right, so again, applying now this is where you apply professional standards, but this is where you do have to make accommodations for knowing that people are volunteers. A lot of times in the evening they're coming straight from work, so we want to have some refreshments, some drinks, and so on. However, don't serve a meal. That ends up, if you'll pardon the pun, eating up a lot of your time. Okay, so something light that they can snack on if they're hungry, but don't overdo it. And just show real good hospitality. Start and end on time. And that's because you want to make your numbers and get the output that you've planned for that day, and because it shows respect. If you don't start on time, there's some people that are really, they'll quit. They won't come back. And so start and end on time. Professional environment means sometimes you have to intervene. There might be one person who's being a little too social and holding back other people and so on. And another thing is give them something to take home. Just like when kids have a birthday party, there's the little gift on the way out the door. Maybe it's a bumper sticker and a candy bar or something. Different reasons for that. One is for just the good karma that they're going to feel from going out of there. The other is that's something that gets displayed to their family. So understand the families make a sacrifice for being without them, and so they can go back on two levels. One, the family understands that they're appreciated, and the other, they can have some pride in what they've accomplished. And that can be as simple or as fancy as you want to be, but just a nice little touch there. And making the calls includes demanding quality and productivity. Follow the script, and with an automated system, the dialing pace is governed by the predictive dialer, and it's more a case of whether people can pause or take breaks or not. If it's in a low-tech scenario, you have to make sure that that they don't, stop too much. That they kind of need to keep going. You do want to recognize real-time accomplishments if they're discovering new supporters, and you want to kind of track that. And sometimes, Janice and I will play good cop, bad cop with that online. Let's see, what else?
Well, I'd like to say also, Ron, that following this script adds more productive time, and it increases their call percentage.
Oh, yeah. Good point, because you know what? You and I both have had to intervene in cases where somebody is too long-winded, and there's two kinds of temptations there. Sometimes it's because you catch somebody who's friendly or lonely and you're just talking, and sometimes it's tempting to kind of debate somebody and win them over. But the one I remember was somebody who was a good caller, and we were able to turn her around. But on her first night, I was watching the statistics ticking away on my screen. She was on one call for 11 minutes. And I went over to monitor, listen on my headphones, and she had just found somebody, a lonely little old lady, and was just talking about everything. And I had to say, well, no, that's not why we're here. So there you go. Now, for scheduling, these are not complicated calculations. These are kind of the numbers that we go by. And what you'll do is start out with how many people do you want to reach, and that has to be functions of the campaign management and targeting. That is, maybe you need to call 10,000 people over a certain time frame. Well, round numbers, figure out that half of them you're going to have to try again. The first round through, you're going to get completion, whether you reach them live or even if it's a bad number, that's completion. But then half of them are going to be answer machines, no answers, busies that you want to try again. So take your first number times 1.5, divided by how many a person can do per hour, 20 if they're dialing by hand, 80 if they're automated, and work that out. How many person hours do I need? And then you can put that into, we've got two free tools here that we've used before. Doodle.com and GatherGrid.com are free and easy to use. They present the information in a different way, so it's a matter of personal preference which one you like. And then it leaves a little bit of manual labor for you to integrate, but it does allow people online to respond to shifts that are scheduled and mark their interest and availability. Shiftboard.com is more complete, but it's $50 a month, and that is a complete for all volunteer scheduling, by the way, not just call center. So recommend that if you're in an organization that can budget $50 a month for it. And Janice, you live in that. You're an expert in that software, and sending it out with people and so on.
Yes, it's organized. How we recruit is it's organized by teams that we create for different projects. And when we know that we're going to have a project coming up, what we do is I keep past performances in mind. I select agents from a team, and I send a broadcast email to see who may be interested in working the upcoming project. And from that response, we coordinate our training.
Good. That's it. And the one thing I see here in my notes to add is that because depending on the district and the election, the universe of targeted voters can be as much as 1/2 seniors. So don't hesitate to call during the day. When we really have intense demands to make a lot of calls, we run 3 shifts, 9 to 12 in the morning, 1 to 4 in the afternoon, and then 6 to 9 in the evening. And the only taboo time is Sunday morning. People that go to church, you won't reach them, and people that don't go to church don't want you to wake them up. So other than that, you know, you can call whenever you need to. So after scheduling, then you're making the calls, you measure and track the progress, and this is something that even if it's extra work to do manually, you have to do it. If you have an automated system, that's great. You'll get reports that tell you this. But, you know, here's the why of measuring and tracking your progress. First is that this isn't just play. You have objectives of a campaign, and you have a timeline, and you have goals, the number of calls you need to make votes happen. So you should have a schedule and be measuring yourself against it and changing things if you're falling behind. The other part is the individual pride and motivation to measure the individual's performance and let them know how they rank compared to others. And then finally is your accountability to them, because people, if you do this right, are going to be spending a lot of hours working for you, and you don't want to let them down. So you got to be showing them the results and the big picture, and you know, sending the reports to the leadership of the campaign, put stuff up on the bulletin board, on the wall, send it up the command chain, and make sure every one of your volunteers see it. Put it in your email newsletter, everywhere. Make sure that they get recognized. And now here's something that we do when we're consulting on volunteer projects that is maybe less important with paid callers, is that the way that, well, you know, Janice, you're the one that said rewards equal motivation. You know, that's what it really comes down to, and this is a form of payment. Now, my philosophy in life is to never view anything as just a transaction. You know, you do something because it's right, you do something because you want to do it, but yeah, you also want to compensate people, and since you can't do it with money, you want to recognize your top achievers. This can be by how many calls they've made to reward the people who are consistently showing up over time. You can have unique experiences for fun rewards. You know, Dana Kennedy on one of our earlier programs mentioned what she did on campaigns is, you know, kind of like who had the most difficult call or whatever. And again, kind of 2 reasons that this is beneficial besides the individual's motivation for recognition. Everybody appreciates a pat on the back, but you want to do it publicly too. You know, the old classic 1-minute manager. I remember one of the points there was that if you're criticizing someone, do it privately. If you're praising someone, do it publicly. So you want something their family can see. Again, you know, sort of a gift or something you can go home and be stuck on the refrigerator. It's not just children who should have their accomplishments up there. And then public visibility too. Katie Naranjo last week in our program talked about a campaign where they had a volunteer of the week who got posted and recognized on the Facebook page. And that was high visibility in a community that was important to them. That meant a lot. So we're right a little bit past the 30-minute mark. To summarize, here's what we're saying. And some of this, I think, is contrary to what I have observed in political campaigns. Build a permanent team that's going to stay with you for your re-election campaign, that's going to be with you if you're a county party or a club every 2 years. The people are going to stay friends in between elections, for that matter. You will train and develop them and take this seriously like a professional. You will set high expectations, and don't be afraid to fire somebody if that's called for. You will have to do a little bit of math and reporting here to track the performance, either by using Excel spreadsheets and paper notes or through an automated system. And then you want to recognize and reward achievement, which is good in any volunteer management scenario, but especially here. So that sums it up. Janice, is there anything that you would like to add at this point?
No, people like to be recognized, and a lot of times that brings about the motivation to, have them set goals, and they look forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So let's open it up now for questions. As I explained in the beginning, we have the questions coming in through the question pane during the presentation. I'm going to have to take a look at them. Now I have to say my multitasking was pushed to the limits here, so I see a lot of comments and questions in there that I am going to have to sort through now. And let me remind anyone who has not submitted a question that you may continue to do so through the question pane. Simply type in the box and click send. And if you have a question that you'd rather discuss with us personally, you can do that through the usual channels on screen now. FrontRunner2020.com, Facebook page Frontrunner 2020, and we really appreciate people liking that Facebook page. We're trying to get those numbers up, so anybody who has not gone into Facebook to like Frontrunner 2020, please do so. And as for the archives of our programs, we have an even dozen there now. Great accomplishment. YouTube channel is Frontrunner 2020 TV, and if you go to the channel, you'll have a better experience because our earlier videos were broken down into multiple parts. We've now been promoted to a partner status at YouTube, and we can have the programs in one bit, but the old ones, go to the channel and you'll see them organized as playlists in multiple parts. Follow us on Twitter, or if you like audio, as I'm a big podcasting fan, you can find us in iTunes. Frontrunner 2020 is the name of the program there. So now let me look at the questions here. I am going to put Johnny on here with the first question, and then try to sort through the rest of them and figure out where to go, because I'm not used to being a presenter, and I usually can count on somebody else to be doing the talking while I'm moderating the questions. So Johnny, you're live now. Why don't you go ahead and talk to us?
Oh, great, Ron. Hey, Janice. Listen,
Hi.
you guys sound great. I'm so envious because I know I'll never sound this good online. Now, first of all, I have a couple of questions, and it's a two-part thing. A, how do you get your volunteers? And I know from being a precinct chair that there are ways to do that. So, secondly, and your candidates will probably give you a list of those. And secondly, what are the most important kinds of things your volunteers can ask during the different parts of the campaign, and how will they handle answers? Janice, in particular, I thought your answer on role-playing was excellent, because role-playing exposes you to the people who have to do it.
Exactly.
As well. So I thought that was a really good answer, and I love role-playing. You probably didn't notice that. But I really am interested in what you guys want these volunteers to know about how to do these questions and what they'll be asked most often. Because from my experience, they try to get you off target. And Ron, you know that you taught me the best of all how to get on target. So, Janice, when you're talking to your people that you're interviewing, how do you let them know that they're going to have to face these hard decisions when they're calling?
Well, that's, again, Johnny, that's how role-playing comes in, because the person that you're role-playing with can give you that hard answer, and you in turn have to come up with, again, being polite and answering. And a lot of times you're on the phone, they can't, you're not in person, so they can't see you. But your smile, even though you're on the phone, projects that you're not going to be disrespectful.
Oh, I think you're right, because sometimes people take it the wrong way that you're calling, from my experience, and I've done a few volunteer phone banks, so they take it the wrong way. So, are your volunteers instructed not to be offended, but to parry that somehow?
Exactly.
That's not Rick Perry, by the way. Cancel that.
Exactly. What I say is you use customer service techniques, because you treat them like you want to be treated, and you're not gonna you don't want them cursing you or whatever. You just don't do that to people.
No.
Be nice no matter what.
Well, I think you're right about that. And Ron's instructions about always end the call politely, regardless of what they say.
Exactly.
See, and you've told me that 100 times, Janice, although I'm not the best student.
You're great.
No. But the thing is, you guys are right about that. You just have to make sure that the person understands you're not calling out of a personal vendetta.
No.
And which is why I think, Janice, what you said about role-playing is so important. Because if you don't talk to the people who are going to be talking and getting the same objections and stuff you get, then you're not going to make it. And Ron encouraged that. But you were right about that, Janice. Role-playing is probably the most important part of a training.
Now, Johnny, let me jump in here, because I have put the script up on the screen.
I see it, yeah.
And a couple of different points about that is that you try to have this flow chart, and this is where sort of like the left brain, right brain thing comes in. You use both sides, but to have some logic to what are the common responses, and so yes, no, maybe are going to be the answers, and there's kind of a flow. Well, if they say X, then I say Y, and if they say A, then I say B. So the majority of scenarios you can kind of fit that. And let's see, a couple thoughts I had. One, it goes back to something Janice said before about the script discipline, is if somebody follows the script, they can save some time.
Yes.
Because there's the common answer to it. The other thing about the role-playing is that, how we do that, we kind of go around the circle. If you got 10 people in training, then, person A is the caller, and then person B is the voter, and then it's B to C and C to D and everything. And without even planting scenarios in anybody's head, it's a little more fun to let them make up their own. And
Ron, it's grueling. I mean, it's major. I'm on the defensive grueling because they're going to ask me something really hard, and what do I say? So that's the best practice you can get. It will make you. I mean, you're sitting there going, "Oh no, don't let them ask me that."
That's exactly the most important part of the training. Go ahead, Janice. Sorry, I stepped on you.
You know, that's okay. A lot of time we try to be as prepared as we can. What we do is Ron usually gathers an FAQ. Okay, and you know, when you have that, we try to get as much information as we can so that when you are put in a position and asked a question that is not on the script, you know, the FAQs can get you through too.
And that's about the candidate information, so you know what his position is.
Well, yes, a lot of times it's a personal information about him. They'll ask that also. It's a very minimum, but a lot of times, you know, it's necessary.
Yeah. But now here's the other thing too, which is a common mistake, is trying to say too much. And if people are asking you questions that are off topic or too complicated, the other thing we teach people is that it's okay to say, I don't know, you know, let me just make a note of it for later. So that's why the script is really simple, is that I tell people that if it can't fit on one page, it's too long. You know, that's why we got this example up here. And then with the FAQs, the same thing. The FAQ is not some 50-page policy manual. The FAQ is usually one page. Sometimes it's, you know, you all know we've had longer ones, but the idea is if it's deeper than what I can say in a couple of minutes, then you know, let us just get back to you. We'll mail you something out, put you on our newsletter or something.
Well, now, Ron, I liked it when you had the forwarding thing to their office and they had people answering the phones there. That worked great.
Well,
that removed the burden from us, the volunteer callers, to the office who had the right answers. We didn't have to come up with all those answers. It's a great system.
Yes. Well, that's another thing. That's right. That's what we could do technically, is to patch through the calls, and that ends up being part of the flow chart if somebody wants it. So, you know, that is, if it's more complicated, we'll transfer you to the campaign headquarters. Or remember when we were doing Get Out the Vote, same thing, is if somebody needed some detailed help of looking up their location and, you know, give me a ride or something like that, then we could transfer them.
Exactly. See, that's very, very valuable.
Yep. Well, let's see here. We don't have any more questions coming in. I guess there's nothing wrong with ending this early. I don't want to just pad it out for no reason. I'll put out one more call for questions to see if anybody has anything to submit. And then, you know, Johnny, Janice, do you all have anything else to add?
Not at all. It's just I would like to, you know, say thank you for those that joined.
Okay.
And I also do, Ron and Janice, what you have said, some of the things you've said are so important to a volunteer phone bank. And that's how Ron found me, was through volunteers, because I had volunteered forever in my district over here in my precinct. But what I really believe is a volunteer has a love of the candidate at the base of their heart. So what Ron does is channel that particular feeling and that love for the candidate into a productive situation for the candidate. And I think that is the best of all worlds, when you can take someone's energy directed like that into a productive channel and make it a big deal to the voters. Because the voters, if you personally ask that voter for their vote, they feel a whole lot better if you know the candidate, if you know what you're doing, and you're not paid. Volunteer phone banks are the best thing. They're the best scenario of all worlds for that very reason. because then you have a connection with the voter that you would never get otherwise. Is that too much verbiage, Ron? Ron, is that too much, Ron? I'm sorry, Ron, but I really love this particular, Janice, I know. I really love this particular subject because I've done this for so long, and there's so many wonderful things about it.
Well, Johnny, volunteering is an opportunity to serve.
Amen.
It's an opportunity to serve, and for those that enjoy helping others, that's our opportunity.
That's a good example, and let's start to wrap it up here now. I am looking to change the slide here. Let's see how I want to do this. Okay. Just to put the contact information back up there again. And to thank everyone for being here. And we'll kind of wrap it up. And this was actually a very convenient way to introduce Johnny, because next week our program, that'll be the last one of our series about phone calling. We just thought it would be it's convenient for us because we're very busy in working on campaigns this month for the November election, and so while it's fresh on our minds, we're sharing this information to get it recorded and up there on YouTube and everywhere else. And so this week's focused on the supervisory role. Next week we'll focus on the caller, and Johnny's going to share her expertise, and we'll talk about script, we'll talk about responding to people, and the actual what goes on during the call, and then that'll kind of constitute the I don't know if you call it a trifecta, but the presentation, it's like the presentation I did in August in Galveston, which is up there, which is program number 8, and then the one this week, which is about supervising, and then next week, which is about all of the insider tips on making the calls. And Johnny, do you have any more of a tease about what we're going to cover next week?
I think everyone who's tuned in should plan to spend at least 3 hours, because once Ron and I get started on this phone bank thing, we've been doing it for so long, and we are so in tune with it, and we are so synced in with each other. It's going to be major stuff. And if you are a candidate or planning to be a candidate, you're talking to the right people right now, and be here next week.
Exactly.
Well done. Well, Janice, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for attending. That's the end of the program.